Hi guys, welcome to the Darkness channel and don't forget to like and subscribe. I woke up and everything was cold. As soon as my blurry vision cleared, I realized where I was. My bag was on the cold metal table, where many of their victims breathed their last breath. I jerked to the side and I was tied down completely. I kept trying to shake my way out of this, not caring if the metal table falls to the side. I needed to get out. Help! I screamed repeatedly. Colin walked up to me and slapped me across the face. Shut up! She said and put gloves on her hands. No, help! I wasn't gonna stop screaming. How did my life come to this? First I was abused. Then I was homeless. Then I was brought in this house. And now I'm on this metal table waiting to be chopped up and put in a stew. You better stop it, Blake. No one's gonna hear you. No one's coming for you. Just like all the other people we've killed. No one ever found them. So just shut up because no one coming for you. Colin screamed back. I squirmed as my hands and ankles were tied securely. There has to be at least some way out of here. I was just trying to have hope. Nathan walked up behind Colin and smiled. Don't worry, Colin. I'll take care of him. She shoved a rag in my mouth and my screams were muffled. A harder chance of someone hear me. I thought I heard footsteps above us, but I accepted the fact that I might have already lost my mind. I kept squirming on the table and Nathan put tape over my mouth. I was gagging and tears ran down my cheeks. So this is it. This is how I'm going to die. I never imagined how scary it would be this close to death. Nathan, what are you doing? Helen asked. Nathan turned around to face her. I'm helping Colin. What the fuck are you doing over there? You're no help. Colin crossed her arms. This is not what we planned. What the fuck are you guys talking about? You guys had a plan? Why don't you tell us about your plan? Colin was pissed off now, and wasn't the only one who didn't agree with what you did. We were on her side all along. We're not crazy. You are. We just went along with it, Helen said. So they just let Anne die like that? They agree with her, but they let Anne get stabbed to death. I tried to look over at her body and it was still moving, a little bit. She would be bled out soon and I worried. I wanted to save her. Oh really? So all you bitches are just gonna turn your backs on me. We made a promise. Colleen was getting angrier and angrier. She picked up a rusty knife stained with many people's blood. I screamed and cried silently as tears flowed down. What? No, I never planned to rebel against you, Colin. I don't know what Helen is talking about. I guess her and Anne had something against you. Nathan defended herself. Tie her up. Colin threw rope at Nathan and she tagged Helen on the ground, eventually getting the rope tied around her hands and then ankles. You're next, Helen. After Blake. Damn, I never knew I would have this many to work with in a day. Hard work paid off. Colleen wiped the sweat off her forehead and picked the knife up again. Walking towards me, I couldn't stop crying. I bet you're gonna taste so good, pretty boy Blake, Colin said with a devil smile. Suddenly, the basement door flew open. I jerked my head, and so did everyone else, towards the door. A woman figure stood there, and she slowly walked down, obviously keeping her distance. I heard everything. I called the cops, Nancy said. They will be here in any minute. Colin's face went white, and she gripped the knife in her hand. You told me Blake was at work. I found it hard to believe since I heard him screaming help over and over, Nancy said. So I decided to come over and see what all the chaos was. I heard the front door get busted open and many footsteps could be heard upstairs. Nancy walked down the stairs and out of the way, and many police officers with guns piled down the stairs and in the room. Colleen stepped away from me on the table, her hands in the air, and she dropped her knife. Nathan put her hands up too. Everything was going by so fast. I was freed from the table and a blanket was pulled over me. They checked my body for any wounds, but they didn't find any. They asked if I was drugged, and I nodded my head. Yes. It was impossible to think when my mind was everywhere at once. I didn't know what it was, though. There was an ambulance here too, and they took Anne's bloody body out on a stretcher. Police looked through everything. They opened the cabinets and found the knives, the needles, and the vials they used on me and plenty of other people. Helen and I had blankets covering our bodies, and we sat on the front porch as police checked inside. All the commotion drawing attention from the neighbors. Nancy walked over to us and hugged me. It's all over, she assured me. We were still being held for questioning, and at some point we would have to tell the police everything that was going on. I'm sure Helen had a lot more to say. A car pulled up beside the police cars and ambulance. I recognized that car. My oldest brother, Christian. Dude, what the fuck happened to you? He asked. My face narrowed in anger. Why does he all of a sudden care now? I never wanted to see him again. Why the fuck do you care? It's not like you were looking for me, I said. I was. You weren't easy to find. He laughed nervously. Is he serious? I didn't want to be found. By you, at least. Now, why don't you go home? I said. A police officer walked up to me. Where do you live? Before you were abducted? She asked. I didn't answer. I didn't know what to say. I don't even have a home. He lives with me. Christian answered for me. What the fuck? Are you a legal parents or guardians? She asked. He nodded his head. Guardians. Yeah, I'm his older brother. We have a lot of questions to ask you guys. The police officer told me and Helen, and we both nodded slowly. You guys are coming with us to the police station so we can ask everything you guys know. She helped each of us and led us to the truck. I'll swing by later to pick you up. Okay, Blake? He asked. It angers me how he is acting like we just got in a small argument. But that's not what happened. He abused me, mentally and physically. Maybe just more mentally. All he would do is talk me down, and when he was angry, he would kick or punch me. And how he's acting like he's the best brother in the world. Nathan and Colin had handcuffs behind their back, and they were about to get taken to prison for the rest of their lives. I could hear the conversation going on between Colleen and officer. He was asking her question and she had to answer honestly. There's no way she would be able to lie now that everything's out on the table. You're responsible for dozens of deaths of innocent people over the past decade. Is that true? The man asked her and she only nodded. It was recorded that a little girl around your age died in the same foster care as you. No one knows how though. It's not confirmed who did it. Was it you? He asked. Yes. We were in the truck now, on our way to the station. I just stared out the window. It was all over. I was so close to death, but Nancy came and saved us. Helen was on the other side of the back seat. She was all part of this plan. She killed people too, or at least I think she did. She explained to the officer earlier that she only had to help Colin and she was forced to eat the victims of Colin. It was sickening. I wanted to throw up. All I could think about is Anne. She was about to save me and rebel against her foster sister, but Colin killed her. Since the first day I was here, I knew something was off about her. I guess she was planning to rebel for a while now. I wanted to cry. I barely knew Anne, but she died standing up for me. She stood up to her sister, and she died fighting. I respected the hell out of her. Maybe she rests in peace. You were homeless? The female officers asked me as another officer was jotting stuff down on a notepad. Yes. And you say that Colin took you in her car to her house. As in kidnap? She asked. No, it wasn't kidnap. She offered to take me to her house for dinner and she ended up letting me stay for a couple of days. I answered honestly, and she nodded. When you were there, what strange things have you witnessed? Was this all unexpected, or did you know something was going on? She asked, and the guy was writing stuff down. I remember getting water in the middle of the night and hearing someone scream help in the basement. I was about to go down there, but Anne was there and told me to go back to bed before Colleen finds out. I sat and sighed. Why didn't I find all of this just strange from the beginning? Anne? She asked. Yeah, it was one of her sisters living there. She was the one who was dead on the ground. Colleen stabbed her. What happened before Anne died? She asked and rested her elbow on the table and said she was tired of having to do this. She was tired of having to help cover up for Colin's murders for years. She was going to call the cop, but she got stabbed. I said all I remember. Colin got adopted with Anne, Helen and Nathan at the same foster care, just after she killed another girl there. Do you think they were held against their will to cover up for Colin? She asked. Yeah, but that's not the worst part of it all. I looked down and back up. What's the worst part? The officer gulped. She wouldn't just kill them. She cut them up, she stored their parts in the fridge and freezer and ate them. She made her sister eat them too, kind of like brainwashing them into thinking it's normal. She made me eat it too, without me knowing. I said, and I knew if I keep picturing it in my mind, I would throw up. The woman looked horrified. Ate them? She said in a really low voice, and I nodded. I don't know why I didn't pick up the clues. She made this meatloaf made of human, and I was just sick to my stomach after eating it without knowing what it was. She told me everything, literally everything, before she was about to kill me. It has to be the most horrifying things I've ever been told in my life. I watched as the officer beside her was riding really fast, and the woman officer who asked the question watched what the man wrote down. I looked at her records. She was placed in foster care because she had no parents. Her parents were brutally killed, and we have reason to believe, after all this, that she did the same thing to them. The officer told me. My head was hurting, and I didn't want to talk more about it. This was going to be part of my life forever, and I never going to forget about it. We all stood up to leave, and I saw Christian standing at the front desk, ready to pick me up. What do you want? I harshly asked my brother. I just couldn't forgive him after all he's done to me. I said I would pick you up. You need to come home. I'll tell you everything when we get in car. Christian looked annoyed simply because I refused to go home, but I eventually gave in. When we got into the car, he looked over at me briefly as I put my seatbelt on, and we drove off. Drew moved out. He is with his girlfriend, I guess. He started off. Drew did more of the physical abusing, which is why I would go to school with bruises. I was too weak to beat the shit out of him too. When? I asked. The other day, he rarely goes out, but when he does, it's either because he's going to his girlfriend's or the bar, he told me. And that's when I remembered. I saw him drive past me when I escaped the girl's house. I didn't want to think about that anymore. Oh, I saw him the other day, I casually said. Look, little brother, I'm sorry for everything. It's just been hard trying to cope without mom or dad. I didn't really mean any of the shit I said or did. And when you ran away, I figured you'd just walk around the block and come back. He scratched the back of his head. But you are really gone. It's been hard, and Joe's real ass. Then I was called by the woman Nancy saying that there was some chaos next to her house and thought we were involved. Police and everything. He said, "He knows Nancy? You know Nancy? I just met her the other day," I told him. Yeah. She's always known us. She was Mom's best friend. She's kind of like an aunt to us. She's never actually sat down and met any of us, but she was at the funeral. Christian explained to me. Wow, it really is a small world. I just want to start things over. I should have been more serious when you were gone. I guess this whole murder thing was a real wake-up call. I want to be a better brother, Blake, Christian explained. It was getting late and I definitely needed to sleep. When we got home, I fell asleep on the couch. Things were finally getting to be the way they were before Mom and Dad died. It was peaceful sleeping. No more questions, no more fighting, and especially no more psychotic cannibal killers. The end. Thanks for staying till the end. Please subscribe to more stories.